Hello, beautiful people. It is your girl, Kendra. Welcome to another edition of Kweenly Critique on my favorite series so far, Genius, MLK, and X. We will be reviewing episode 7 and the final episode 8. So, stick around and don't forget to subscribe. Let's go. Okay, y'all. So, we are at the final episodes of this series, and it's so funny because I kind of felt indifferent about, reviewing the last few episodes of the series. Honestly, I really wish it would have been 10 episodes, but I digress. But yes, we are going to be reviewing episode 7 and 8, and I am going to throw a couple of spoilers in there and, sprinkle my Kendra magic on my review as well. So let's just go ahead and hop into episode 7. I'm gonna go ahead and get my notes real quick. So first of all, this episode 7, we're gonna talk about that. So first of all, I was like, wow, my eyes were open to things that I did not know. That's number 1. And 2, this episode was beautifully told. Like, I was really, really shocked. I pride myself in knowing Black history and knowing facts about people, but I definitely got a history lesson on this episode. So this episode opens up with a strong painting on the wall of like these 2 warriors, one with a sword and one with a shield, right? So basically the episode is called The Sword and the Shield, which I thought was super symbolic. And I said, oh, well, that's very powerful how they started this episode. That makes sense, right? So Malcolm is sitting in the doctor's chair doing like that infamous pose with his hand like on his chin. He's doing that infamous pose. Or Aaron Pierre, who, honestly, I'm gonna say this, I'm not saying that he wasn't Malcolm in the other episodes, but he was Malcolm in episode 7 and 8. Like I said, oh, he was Malcolm X on this episode. But anywho, so he was doing the infamous Malcolm X pose with the glasses, just looking all fine and stuff. And I was just like, okay, Aaron, like you're looking amazing. You're looking real fine, sir. Just looking like a snack, honey. But anywho, the nurse comes in and basically tells him that, like, listen, you have been under a lot of emotional distress. Like, when was the last time you had your episode? I was like, skirt, wait. I kind of had to pause because I was like, wait, what? I was like, so did he deal with, anxiety or did he have panic attacks and nervous breakdowns? I said, I never would have known, or I never would have guessed that that's what he would have been dealing with, right? So, it made me very, very teary-eyed because I did not know that. Like, I have read and listened to the autobiography of Malcolm X, and literally just thinking about his life, I never in my mind would have thought, oh, he went into a nervous breakdown or he had a panic attack. So it really made me teary-eyed watching that. And I guess I just didn't think that he dealt with mental illnesses. You know what I'm saying? And I've come to understand that our superheroes are human and they deal with real emotions just like us, It was just something else to see. But then it cuts to the scene where Betty Shabazz is eating. She's in the temple. And, these Negroes in the temple, number 7 restaurant or whatever, are talking mad smack about Malcolm. And I was like, oop. And then one of them had the nerve and the audacity, the gall and the gumption to bring up Malcolm X's mama. And I was like, oop. I said, now hold up. Who told you that was okay? I was like, see, the audacity and the gall and the gumption. I said, how dare you? How dare you, sir? Because I wasn't even called for. But anywho, I was about to fight him. Like, literally, I wanted to jump through the screen. I was just like, sir, that was so uncalled for you to talk about his mama. Like, you talk about your mama. Why you had to go that far? Like, you just ridiculous. But anyway, I digress. Anywho, so it's obvious now that the FBI is literally on the case of Malcolm and Martin. So what happens is, in the next scene, it cuts to Martin, and Martin's like in the office, and he just feels like somebody is following him, like the Michael Jackson song. Wait, that's not Michael Jackson's song, but Michael Jackson sings the, the hook, like, I always feel like somebody's watching me, and I got no privacy. Like, basically, that's how Martin was feeling, right? So, it was just really weird, because the suspects were really right, and they were really following him and taping them around, and I was like, oh my god, like, the FBI was crazy. I was like, oh my god, I can't. But anyway, so fast forward, Betty is trying to salvage the relationship between Malcolm and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because basically she's trying to get his suspension, basically to be wrapped up and to, you know, put him back in the temple. So she writes him a letter. Now, I don't think she should have did that, but I understand why she did it, because, you know, with Malcolm having all these things going on with him, maybe being in the temple, it would give him purpose and it would give him, you know, the strength to keep going. But, of course, it didn't work out. And Clyde Hayton X, yes, Clyde Hayton X, yes, that's what I'm gonna call him. Clyde Hayton X literally is getting on my nerves because he keeps putting poison in Honorable Elijah Muhammad's ear. And I'm like, Negro, you are the most jealous man ever. I'm like, you're getting mad because Malcolm is getting elevated and you see that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has favor in his eyes over you. Like, get over yourself, sir. Get over yourself. Like, go somewhere. But yeah, like, he just put all this poison in his ear. Honorable Elijah Muhammad is just listening. And I'm like, sir, do you not really understand, like, what's going on? I just don't get it. But, anyway, so, like I said, basically, Clyde X is basically saying, you know, he's trying to take people with him. He in defiance with you, and he ain't gonna go no further. He ain't gonna go no further because he's trying to be you. Da-da-da-da-da. And I was just like, that is not what Malcolm wanted. Like, he's really just trying to empower our people, and that's really what it was. But, you know, anywho. So, fast forward, Martin and Ralph are at the White House, right, with President Johnson. And so they want to talk about the Civil Rights Bill. And, you know, the president reassures that, yeah, you know, we're going to get into the bill when I can. Like, that's literally what President Johnson said in the series. I mean, I don't know if that's how it happened in real life, but, you know, President Johnson was just like, yeah, you know, we're going to get to it when we can. And so Martin was like, you know, Martin kind of got a little Malcolm in him, because Martin was like, no. Basically, we're not about to have this. But he was gangster with it, but he was polite too. Because he was like, first of all, nah, this needs to happen now. No, we're not waiting anymore. Because y'all be trying to kind of pacify us and say, oh, we're going to get to it. No, we don't need any more waiting. Things need to happen now. So Ralph's face is like, you know, and even President Johnson is like, you know, like taken back. So Ralph was like, bruh, don't be mistaken for Malcolm X. And I kind of giggled because I was like, see, Martin did have a lot of Malcolm in him. I say, see, I ain't even realizing. Y'all think that, you know, Dr. King was just this non-violent dude. And I mean, yes, he was a non-violent dude, but he was militant. Like, nah, like, no, we're going to get this bill passed. And we're going to get it done now, like ASAP, okay? So I was like, oh, I said, Martin told him, all right. I said, all right, Martin, let him know. But then, funny moment, y'all. I said, Malcolm and Betty got a little busy, did they? Because I said the last episode, it was just one baby child. Tell me why there were 3 kids at their table. I said, I looked at the table. I said, okay. I said, I know that's Attila, Quabilla, and Eliezer. I was like, okay. I said, it's 3 of them right there. And I actually think that Betty was, Betty was actually pregnant with the twins, if I'm not mistaken. And then, technically, I think it was 4, not 3. Because it was 4 girls. I don't know the younger sister after Eliaz's name. But I know in real life, it was supposed to be, honestly, I think it was supposed to be 4 girls, and then she was pregnant. But anywho, I was like, well, they were being busy, all right. But anywho, so a friend at the temple basically calls the house, and he's like, listen, bruh, they're death threats. I'm just letting you know, this is what's going on. People are trying to threaten your life. Yeah, people are talking about, you know, pew-pewing you. And he's like, so where did this come from? And he's like, yeah, it came from such and such and such's mouth. So, you know, you can see that Malcolm is very disheartened, but he ain't surprised. He was like, I ain't even surprised. I'm not even surprised by this whatsoever. But then there's another scene. Coretta is coming home, right? And she gets a package from the FBI. And of course, she reads it and she sees the pictures, right? And Martin and her are having a conversation over the phone. And you could tell he's fighting guilt. But when Sis hung up that phone before he said, I love you, I said, oh, Coretta was mad. I said, Coretta was mad. Now, we know that Dr. King loved his family, okay? We are very well of that. And we know that she loved him. I think we all know what's up. But even with her doubts, she stayed with her man. Like, she literally stayed with Mark and stood by him because that was her man, right? You know, I just think that every relationship is different. And, you know, I know back then things were a little different in that time, too. But I think Coretta knew. Like, it's just kind of like, I'm going to protect my husband, and I'm going to stand by him, regardless of what happens, because we are a team. But I will say this. When Sister Girl burnt them tapes, and she burnt them pictures, Sis was looking like Angela Bassett from Waiting to Exhale, honey. I said, come on, give me Angela Bassett. And letting the things burn and you're standing there just looking at them. I said, I know that's right, Coretta. Let them know you are Coretta Scott King. Haha. But anywho, I absolutely love the scene between Malcolm X and Attila. Now, if y'all do not know, Ambassador Shabazz was actually a consulting producer on this project. So I'm happy that his family was involved. Even if it was just the older daughter, she was still involved. I really, really wish that the King family was involved. But, you know, I think between dealing with Dexter's death and everything in between, I just think that it was just a lot. So I think they just didn't want to be involved in that way. But I really think she would love how the way they portrayed her parents. But anywho, but I really love it because it really made me smile so hard. And basically he's asking her, he was like, well, what's my favorite color? And she was like, your favorite color is blue. And he was like, wow, how do you know that? And she was like, I know everything about my daddy. And I was like, oh my god, this is just so beautiful. Like, I loved it, y'all. I just felt it so beautiful. I really, really did. And, you know, next thing you know, my smile get interrupted because this big old black guy want to bump into Malcolm. And, you know, here come Aaron or Malcolm, like, you know, watch it, brother. You know, like, you're going to be bumping into me like that in front of my child. It was a lot. And I was like, see, that's the stuff I'm talking about. I was like, some of the men in this series will be having the audacity to gall and gumption. Audacity, gall, gumption, okay? But, anywho, so Betty gets corrected in the next scene by Clyde Hayton X for not going through the proper protocol for even sending that letter to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So he's like, nah, you know, you ain't even go through the right protocol. Don't be trying to, you know, have my wife sending stuff. You could have just talked to me. And I was like, Clyde, like, just jump off a cliff at this point, because you're just doing the most. And basically, she goes to the next scene. She goes to Malcolm and she just confesses to him, listen, I may have overstepped, but I'm just letting you know I went to Elijah Muhammad. I wrote him a letter to try to reinstate you. And he was like, what, did he respond? And she was like, no. And he was like, you know what? Okay, well, this really confirms what these rumors are. And basically, he was like, I guess the rumors are true about me being killed. So Betty is like, wait, what? You know, you could tell that it was almost like in that scene, he just accepted his fate. And, you know, he was just like, I'll make sure nothing happens to me. But you can tell that he was just very, what's the word? It's like, yes, I'm saying this to you to protect you, that I know that we're going to be okay. But I knew deep down inside, even Malcolm, the real Malcolm, was like, I'm a dead man already. I already know what it is. So, sad. But, anywho, back to my notes. Oh, yeah. Civil Rights Act passed and the white guys are mad. Oh, well. Okay, next scene. The famous meeting happens, and it's so funny how they describe each other. And both of them understood that they would have to meet together again. And that they would have to strategize as a team instead of two opposing sides. And that they needed each other. And that's just really what it is. Like, if y'all really understand both sides of Malcolm X and Martin, they literally were two sides of the same coin. They literally were. I'm like, they were more alike than what people think that they were. You know what I'm saying? But, now King ends up getting, or Martin gets nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. And everyone is happy except one person. And it's Ralph. And, from my understanding, I have heard rumors allegedly that Ralph was actually jealous of Dr. King. Or, you know, Ralph Abernathy was. And he probably felt indifferent about certain things, but, you know, I don't think I don't think that's true. But, you know, I think, like I said a couple of videos ago, everybody was not together back then as what we think that they were. A lot of people were not back together back then, or together, or got along like that back then. It was just a group of people who were just committed to the cause. But Ralph is kind of feeling indifferent. He was like, I'm happy. He's like, but I just feel like I need to be recognized like you have been recognized. And I just don't think that's fair. And another fact, his house got bombed too, which I had no idea. I said, oh crap, I didn't even know his house got bombed. That's crazy. But I just think he wanted his flowers, and he deserved his flowers, because I mean, he was right there. He was like, Dr. King's right hand man, basically. And I definitely get it. Like, they needed each other, and he needed to be recognized too. So I definitely get that. So but yeah, I think that's the end of that episode. Well, that was the end of that one. So let's fast forward to episode 8, which is the final episode. So, episode 8 tugged at my heart so much. And let me tell y'all why. Because, first of all, how they did their assassinations was so unique. I ain't even think about it like that. Like, because in my mind, in the back of my mind, I was like, I know the end is coming. I know the end is coming. I said, how are they going to do this? I said, I hope they don't reenact it. But I'm like, but I hope we can feel the heartache and the pain behind it, right? So the episode was short, but it was heavy and it was impactful. But even with that, I still appreciated every aspect, even how they did their assassinations, and even how the way the episode was short, but it was impactful. So, I'm going to say this. Aaron Pierre, sir, I don't know what it is about this sandy-colored beard and them pretty eyes and them glasses. In my strongest R&B voice, my, you sure look good tonight. Ooh. Listen, Aaron looked good. I said, I don't know what it is, honey, with these glasses and these eyes and this I said, ooh, my, you sure look good. But yeah, he was looking good. He was looking good. I ain't even gonna hold. He was looking good. But I love that they started off the episode with Malcolm bringing Betty flowers. And if you did not know, the day that their house got firebombed was Valentine's Day. But I just love that they started off the episode with him bringing her flowers, and just those intimate moments. This chemistry, just the chemistry between Jamie and Aaron is insane. And as I said it on my Facebook story and my Instagram story, they all got to do another romance movie. I'm like, they have to do like a romantic comedy or something. I'm like, I need to see them in another romance film. Him and Jamie and Kelvin and Raruche. Raruche. I need to see them all in another romantic film again, because like I said, their chemistry is insane. But it was such a loving moment. And then seeing the little girls coming in the room while they were dancing, and they look at them, and the kids are like, hee hee, hi mommy and daddy. And so they just hold on to each other, and they're all just holding each other and just swaying. It was just so beautiful to see. But such a loving moment turning into something so traumatic, and you seeing them running out of the house and not trying to get burnt alive. It was heavy. That was heavy. Then the scene turns into the famous picture that we know of Malcolm holding a gun in his hand, but it was like 3 months prior of someone taking that picture of them before the firebomb. So basically, a photographer is taking a picture of it, and Malcolm knows that his days is numbered. He knows that. So he's like, look, I'm trying to protect my family as much as I can, because, I ain't got no army behind me no more. I got to protect my family as much as I can. So he knew the threats were coming. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad knew this, and he was just completely threatened by him. And it was a lot. And the thing is, I think Malcolm also knew that Clyde was feeding poison to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad about him, so it could make it messier than what it actually was. And it's like his ambitions weren't even that. Y'all thought his ambitions were that, It's just crazy. But anywho, So Martin, Andy, John, and Ralph are at the Selma protest, and it's pretty heart-wrenching to see. And I almost kind of feel like they kind of sped a couple of events together instead of just having like scene by scene by scene. Because like I said, we only got 8 episodes, so they kind of like put a whole scene together of them at the Selma protest, and to see Martin and Ralph's faces like swished on the ground by the police officer, that was just a light. I was like, let me turn my head because I'm getting pissed off. I was like, I get mad. But it makes me grateful for the battles that, my people fought. Because I couldn't do it. Because I'll be fighting back. I'll probably be on a tree somewhere. I'm so serious. Like, I'll be like, y'all just might as well just kill me because I'm about to fight y'all all back. Because no, like, you're not going to put your hands on me and all I'm trying to do is just be a human being. No. But anyway, they all get arrested. Ralph is reading a scripture out loud. Martin tries to have a conversation with him. Ralph wasn't trying to hear it. And I think that Ralph just really wanted to make their relationship more about, or their friendship more about the movement, and that's it. I love how they show Louise and Malcolm X together. Because here's the thing. Malcolm and his brothers and sisters eventually did get their mother out of, I think it was Kalamazoo or something like that, the mental institute that their mom was in for years. And they did finally get her out of the mental institution after years. But I love that they showed him talking to his mom. Because whether we know it or not, women do play a vital part in this series. The maternal mothers in the series and their wives, like they play a very vital part in these men's lives. So it was just beautiful to see, to have his mom talking to him and holding his hand and comforting him. The conversation was heartbreaking because basically he was like, I feel like my time on earth is about to end. And, she held his hand and she comforts him, and it was just really beautiful to see. But I also loved the conversation between Malcolm and Betty while they were on the phone. And it was just so cute. I loved it. It was just so cute. And it was almost like you felt like you were sitting in a room with them and just literally listening to them talk to each other. But it was kind of unfortunate because it was their last conversation on the phone. But like I said, Aaron embodied Malcolm X to the point that I had to look twice. These writers in this episode are literally literary geniuses. And to intertwine him being shot and assassinated to him talking about the transformation of a butterfly was deep. I was like, yo, who would have thought to put this together? Because I never would have thought about that. But to put that before he got assassinated was something. And to see Jamie, when Jamie was crying over him, or Betty was crying over him and grabbing him over his body, and the soldier, or not the soldier, but the guy from the temple who was his boy was trying to cover all of them, or to cover Betty. It was something. Then it's like she looked over again and she saw him standing and looking at her, and then he faded away, and I just lost it. Like, I just bust out crying because I was like, whew. But the thing is, like I said, they did not show the actual shooting. They just showed the aftermath of the shooting, which I was like, that was genius. Because, I don't think we would want to see them actually being shot. No, because we already seen it in so many other movies and in other series. Like, it's like, no, I don't want to see it. No. But it was deep, and it just made me think, because it's like, okay, when you think about Malcolm X, when you think about his life, and even Martin's life, both of them, how the way they both transformed into these figures, and they soared, and then, being taken down all of a suddenly is something, But the Kings and Abernathys are all gathered around the TV when they found out that Malcolm X was shot. So Martin's face, again, is fear-stricken, right? They try to gather everyone out of the room, and I'm happy that Martin chose to write a personal letter to Betty instead of just sending a regular condolence letter. I said, no, it needed to be personal. So he wrote her a personal letter, and you saw Betty reading it, and tears are coming down her face, and I was just like, oh my God. I was just like, this is just my heart. It was just so much. But anywho, So we fast forward, and Martin is really, really adamant about speaking against the war. So people are advising him not to. However, he did. And, even his wife was against the war too. And, just thinking about it, like when I think about that time and why, they were in a war, I was like, why was the United States in the war with Vietnam? I'm like, they just killing people just because, I just sending people over there to be killed. Like, what's going on? Like, what Vietnam do to us? Like, I just, it was something just to see. And then, he had the courage to speak out, even though it cost him his life. And I remember Bernice King saying, she said, my father was the most hated man in America. So when I see people quote my father to try to justify certain actions and things, no. Like, don't be trying to make my father like this passive yes sir, no sir type of person. My father was a soldier, and my father was a prophet, and a lot of people did not like my father because he did stand up for what was right, despite of what other people might think. Just saying. But anywho, oh, and I have to say this. Shout out to one of my favorite TikTokers who was Andrew Young. If y'all do not follow Anwar, follow him. I was so excited to see him play Andrew Young. I said, I know this face. I was like, oh my God, it's Anwar. Hi. I was super excited to see him. I was like, oh my God, this is cool. But anywho, so I was so happy to see him doing his thing. I was like, yes, go Anwar. Whoop, whoop. But anywho, Martin's in the room packing for his trip to Memphis, because at this point, they done fast forward all the way to the point that he's about to go to Memphis to help the sanitation workers. Now, I will say this. I'm gonna talk about the scene real quick, because Martin's father was kind of like, you keep trying to fight everybody's battle. Just because someone calls, it doesn't mean that you have to respond. And he's like, well, Dad, I can handle it. And he's like, no, you're only one man. You can't do it. But that's how much of a heart that Dr. King had. Like, he did not have to go to Memphis at all, but he knew that the people were being treated wrong. So he was like, no, we going down there and we trying to see what's going on. So Martin is packing his stuff in his room, and the boys come in. His two younger, well, not two younger sons, but his second oldest son and his third son come in, and they're basically like, Dad, we don't want you to go. And he assures them that he would be back. And basically, that was their last hug and moment with their father. Martin and Coretta scene made me cry too, because, it was their last time that they would see each other. And he just emphasizes, if it wasn't for her, none of this would be possible. And then I was just kind of like, I cried again. He makes his final speech in Memphis. Like I said, I think that someone owns the rights to Dr. King's speeches, so they kind of make it their own in the series. But it was very heartfelt. Kelvin really embodied, like literally, the last 2 episodes of this series, Kelvin and Aaron embodied Dr. King and Malcolm X, okay? And then I noticed the 2 episodes of Kelvin, and his hand was shaking, right? But when he finally made the speech, his hand completely stopped shaking. And in my mind, I said he finally accepted death. And he wasn't afraid anymore of it. He made his peace. And that really hit me heavy, because I remember watching a documentary called King in the Wilderness. And basically, that's what he had to do. He had to accept the fear, make his peace with fear and death. And I was just like, that is like one of the most heaviest things to do. But they're in a hotel. The next scene, they're in a hotel. They're being playful. They're hitting each other with the pillows. He's laughing, being lighthearted. They're just having a good old time. Just being like these big old babies. And I just loved it. Because I'm like, even adults, we have our kiddie moments too. Like, come on. We all have our kiddie moments. And I just love that he was just smiling. He was just in a playful state. Then, when he went outside, we hear the gunshot. And you see Ralph and Andrew run out the door in slow motion. And when I tell you, I start boo-hooing again like a doggone baby. I said, oh my God. The tears were just streaming down my eyes. I said, oh my God, this is just, whoo. And then, I'm happy. I'm going to say this. I'm happy that they put Stokely Carmichael up there. Because you know what? People be trying to play Stokely Carmichael or Kwame Ture because they was just like, oh, he was just this militant person like Huey Newton and stuff. No, Stokely was a part of the civil rights movement too, and he needed his flowers too. Okay? MLK. So I'm happy that they kind of put in the speech where he was talking about, you know, white America, you know, killed Martin and killed Malcolm because of certain things. But Martin was the one man who did not want violence, but you killed him, basically. And it was just, you have to, if you've never seen what he said, it's a very touching statement of what he said. So after that, you see that Coretta is in their room, and she has the box that has the King Center on it, and she was putting like all the little items of what Dr. King used to use or whatever. And she got like this little this handkerchief, and the handkerchief, let me run that back. The handkerchief, before he left to Memphis, she sprayed her perfume on it, and she was just like, "This is just to remind you of me." And then in one of the scenes, when he was you know, preaching or speaking, he kind of wiped it around his face, which just kind of made me cry even more. And so like she's putting it in the box for the King Center, and then she just cries, and I was just like, I said, Lord, I said, I'm crying all of this episode. Y'all done got me tore up. But anywho, so we fast forward to Betty and Coretta meeting each other, and they reminisce about their husbands and how they were inspired by one another, and how their husbands were more alike than what people actually thought. And just the act of true sisterhood was there. You could just see it, and it was just so beautiful to see. So with that being said, this series was amazing. I give it a 10 out of 10. The casting, the music, the clothes, the hair, the makeup, everything, everything was just beautiful. And I'm so happy that now we can watch a series that really honestly depicts who Dr. King and Malcolm X, Coretta Scott King, and Betty Shabazz were. And the thing is, their spirits will never ever die, and their legacies will continue on and on and on. So thank you all again for watching this series with me, hanging out with me, dealing with my silliness and dealing with my quirkiness and all that stuff. You guys have been amazing. I cannot wait to do more reviews for you all. Thank you again for joining me. This has been another Kweenly Critique, and I am out. Smooches and sparkles. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Bye.